Always glad to be talking to you guys. And we are live on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. So as you guys come in, please be sure to leave a comment. Let me know that you can hear me. Let me know if there's any issues with the sound quality. We are doing it live, so let's see how we shape out here. So as I said, this is going to be a stream for entrepreneurs that deal with anxiety. I've spoken to a lot of entrepreneurs recently and looking to find out more about their pain points. And anxiety is definitely one of the top issues that a lot of folks experience as they build or maintain or make changes in their business, whatever it is, what have you. Anxiety is one of the top issues that entrepreneurs face. And actually, in the previous stream, I mentioned that entrepreneurs actually experience anxiety and depression and other mental health issues at a rate much higher than the rest of the population. So this is a very important subject to cover. And I'm going to basically give you guys my top 4 strategies for dealing with that. So it's going to be a great stream, a lot of value. Once again, I'm committed to bringing you guys all the value. And, today's going to be no exception. So let me just plug in something really quick. Like I said, it's live. So give me a second here. There we go. All right, great. All right, so let's go ahead and get started here. So first up, we have the traditional methods of dealing with health issues and anxiety and all those types of things. You want to start off by doing basic diagnostics and look at your essential baseline markers. Look at where you're at with your sleep, your diet, your gut health, all of those types of things, making sure you're exercising. And that's where we're going to start off as number 1 is sleep and diet. So, of course, I've mentioned this many times in other videos. This one is no exception, particularly because all of these different aspects of health are typically interrelated. So, if you're struggling with low energy, lethargy, fatigue, you're probably going to be a little bit anxious as well. It tends to go hand in hand, especially if, you're not sleeping well, you're eating garbage, all this different type of stuff. So number 1 is sleep and diet, and I could probably throw in exercise in there, of course. So very important to make sure you're getting 8 to 9 hours of sleep every night, making sure that your diet is on point, you're getting your macro and micronutrient needs met. And the reason these are so important is that micronutrient deficiencies can actually lead to depression, anxiety in and of itself. So if you're deficient in a particular vitamin or mineral or nutrient or what have you, you're going to have you're much more likely to experience an onset or recurrence of anxiety or depression or any kind of other mental health issue that you might experience. So you're going to make sure your diet's on point. So you're eating 2 to 3 square meals a day. You are covering all the food groups. So you're getting plenty of protein in there, healthy fats, saturated and unsaturated, monounsaturated fats from things like avocados, nut butters, chia seeds, all of those different types of things. Maybe even throw in some fruit in there as well. And, you're stacked, you're jacked, you're getting ready, and you're crushing it with your meals every single day of the week. So, and of course, throwing in complex carbs as well to make sure you have a nice stable blood sugar throughout the day. That's very important. And then on the sleep side, sleep is important, like I've mentioned in previous streams, because it creates the baseline for your cognitive power, your cognitive processing power, excuse me. So as goes your sleep, so goes the brain. And the reason for this is during sleep, when you're in deep and REM sleep, deep sleep in particular, you're processing and recovering, and you've all different types of cellular recovery mechanisms that are elevated during that time. You're processing and storing memories. You got autophagy going on. Excuse me. You got apoptosis. Cells are recovering or restoring pieces of themselves, or completely, apoptosis, and they're excommunicating themselves. Let's say they're exterminating themselves. You got new cells being generated all while you're asleep. So, they say a lot of healing happens while you're resting and recovering. There's a reason for that, particularly when it comes to sleep. So that's happening. So if you're experiencing any kind of anxiety, I'm going to recommend that you start with the absolute basics, and that is sleep, diet, and exercise for those reasons. Exercise is also great because It increases blood flow to the brain, helps free up any kind of problem that you're having, and just it releases endorphins. Leads to production of dopamine, which is a feel good hormone. Feel good neurotransmitter, motivating transmitter, all of those things. So you're going to start out with that base layer, right? You got sleep, exercise, and diet. Until you fix those things, you can't really look at anything else. So that's step one. And then step two is actually going to be blood work. So the reason why I want to look at blood work is we're going to take a deeper dive into some of those potential micronutrient deficiencies, some of those vitamin deficiencies, mineral deficiencies. Actually, particularly when I think about vitamin deficiencies, I think about the class of B vitamins because they are important cofactors for the production of so many neurotransmitters and compounds, chemicals within the brain. That if you're deficient in any of the B vitamins, I'm thinking B6 and B12 in particular, but also, of course, the other ones are very important. You're likely going to be deficient in things like serotonin and GABA, all these different neurotransmitters that are created out of those B vitamins. So that's an example. And the reason why I say blood work is because blood work is the best way to get empirical data on where you're at in terms of your micronutrients, your vitamins, and your minerals. So, and of course, there are other things too that can lead to depression, like low testosterone, high estrogen in men. Um, let's see, all different types of hormonal issues. You really need to take it under a microscope and look at it before you can jump to anything else. So that's why I say blood work is another strategy that you can use to boost your knowledge, your base layer. You get a better sense of where you're at in terms of your overall health, and you start to get the full picture, right? And as you continue to move forward through the steps and the strategies that I'm recommending, um, you really get a better sense of what's going on. Ideally, you get it done before you make changes to your diet so you can get that first baseline and just make sure you absolutely understand where you started so that later down the line you can refer back to that baseline that you had. And you'll see, wow, what a difference in all of these blood markers, the vitamins and minerals. I'm doing so much better. You'll see your hormone profile improve. You'll see your vitamins be where they need to be. You'll see your thyroid might be performing better. Your kidneys, your liver might be less taxed as well. You might see your cardio metabolic profile improve. You'll probably see better nutrient partitioning and metabolism as well. So all of these things, it's an important first step and next step in a continuous process to make sure that you have the information you need and we're able to spot those deficiencies. So that's like super important. So we have diet, sleep, exercise, and blood work. And then step three is actually going to be supplements. Now I'm going to share my screen for this one because this might be the kind of information that you think most people are probably looking for when they think of anxiety. They think, supplements and pharmaceuticals. So I wanted to start with the base layer stuff before we get into the supplements and then on to the psychiatry and the pharmaceuticals. So I'm going to share my screen if my mouse will let me here. Okay, great. So with regard to supplements, so start off taking a basic multivitamin. That can be very critical when, like I said, you might be deficient in certain micronutrients. Multivitamins do contain varying levels of each vitamin and nutrient, and they widely vary from one supplement company to the next. But if you're struggling with anxiety, it could be that you have one of these micronutrient deficiencies I've been talking about. So, like vitamin B, all the B vitamins, vitamin D, B12, all of these different things, calcium, potassium, magnesium, all of the minerals, and so on and so forth, right? So you can get a lot of those in your basic daily multivitamin. Even if it's not in the exact amount you expect, some is better than none, especially nowadays when food is so nutrient depleted that, you're not getting as much of the vitamins and the minerals as you used to, say, back 50, 60, 70, 100 years ago. There's been some some articles that have been written about the nutrient depletion of soil, and it's a really a potential concern, and a good way to make sure that you're staying on top of it is a multivitamin, a good one. But start taking a vitamin nonetheless. Again, one of those base layer protective mechanisms. So let's see. So, and remember, vitamins are essential for survival, and they're a special class of nutrient for that reason. So, part of the process, working with me, or working with, let's say, a functional medicine practitioner, they would do blood testing for those things, and I'll actually provide a link in the bio. Link in the bio, or a link in the description of this video, with some links to various vitamin mineral tests. So supplements, right? So the first one on the list is vitamin D. So there was a 2020 study done in 106 people with depression. They were treated with 1,600 international units of vitamin D per day for 6 months, which led to reduced anxiety compared to the control group. A control group is a group that does not take the treatment as a comparison point for those that do. So it didn't show promise for depression in this case, but anxiety, yes. So you can generate vitamin D from sun exposure, obviously, but if you're lighter, fair skinned like me, you can take, let's say, 5,000 IUs of vitamin D a day, and then go get your your skin color from a spray tan. So it is what it is, right? Just make sure that the vitamin D supplement itself also comes with vitamin K2. Without the K2, also known as MK7, the vitamin D alone has been theorized to, vitamin D supplements alone have been theorized to lead to an increase in artery calcifications. All you really need to know there is that it is one of the factors or precursors associated for and with coronary artery disease and heart attacks. So just to be safe, go ahead and take that K2 with your 5,000 IUs of vitamin D. Most vitamin D supplements will come with it, and it should be very easy to find on, like, let's say, Amazon or something like that. So let's see. The next thing is magnesium glycinate. So obviously, one of the many forms of magnesium that you can take is magnesium glycinate. Just for background, there was a 2017 study, for example, with 112 people that had depression and took 248 milligrams of elemental magnesium for 6 weeks, significantly helping with depression and anxiety. Now, when I say elemental magnesium, just keep in mind, elemental magnesium is actually the base amount of what's called bioavailable magnesium in a supplement. So bioavailable means that it's ready and available in the bloodstream for use by the body. Other elements might be discarded or excreted as waste products, etc. It might not all be readily metabolized. So you have your elemental magnesium. That's the bioavailable magnesium. So when you're looking at magnesium supplements, make sure to double check how much elemental mag is in them. This study, they had 250 milligrams of elemental magnesium. So look for at least that much. So it's magnesium is an essential mineral for humans, along with things like potassium, sodium, iron, zinc, and others. So there's actually a large portion of the United States population is actually magnesium deficient. So it's been found to correlate in patients with diabetes, actually. So as magnesium deficiency is associated with something called insulin resistance, it's actually a precursor for type 2 diabetes, precursor event for type 2 diabetes. So next we have something called GABA. So GABA is a and this is another supplement, by the way. So far we have vitamin D and we have magnesium glycinate, and we provided studies for those two. GABA is a neurotransmitter, which suppresses the action of another transmitter in the brain called glutamate. The two actually work in an opposing push-pull fashion to excite and stimulate the brain with glutamate and calm down the brain with GABA. So you can supplement GABA, which can reduce some of the stress and some of the stress of the excess excited activity in your brain. So there aren't too many studies utilizing GABA as a supplement exactly, but for anxiety, but it is well known to cause a type of calming effect, I've personally experienced it as somewhat sedative like. And there's actually a class of drugs called gabapentinoids, which are generally used to treat seizures. So seizures are toxic levels of glutamate activity by and large. So just for instance, you can, but again, you could take GABA as a supplement, perhaps in the evening and before bed, and it's worth a try at about a range of 250 to 300 milligrams. So that's GABA, and of course you can get that on Amazon or any major supplement website. Anywhere you might find it, GABA should be there. So uh, next we have L-theanine. L-theanine is an amino acid that has relaxation properties, also found in green tea. You can take half a gram of L-theanine in water, any other beverage. I like to throw it in my decaf coffee. You can put it in smoothies, you can put it in juice, whatever you want. So, L-theanine is, like I said, an amino acid, and it actually modulates several neurotransmitter systems, mostly serotonin and dopamine, by increasing the um, the amount of those transmitters. But it also induces relaxation through enhancement of something called alpha wave brain activity. So for L-theanine, 250 to 500 milligrams should be good as a tester dose. It's very safe, so you should be good on that one. Another supplement you can use, chamomile. So of course everybody's heard of chamomile, and chamomile is a flower often made into teas, and it has relaxing properties and can also let's say relax the digestive system when you have upset stomach, when you're feeling irritated, you have indigestion, diarrhea, nausea, etc. Right? It's been consumed for hundreds, if not thousands, of years. So go ahead and drink up with the chamomile. You can get that in any grocery store. Try and get it organic if you can find organic chamomile. That's definitely the best way to go. Um, so the next one on the list is phenibut. I didn't write any notes for this one, but so basically, phenibut is very similar to GABA. Phenibut is what you might call a nootropic. So for those of you out there that are into nootropics, phenibut is a nootropic that utilizes the GABA system. And basically, it binds to the GABA receptors, much like GABA itself, causes that relaxation effect. Phenibut in particular, also very similar to alcohol. I don't know if you guys knew this. Alcohol actually partially binds to the GABA receptors as well. So when you're feeling in that sort of loosey goosey, relaxed, sort of open and social kind of vibe when you're drinking alcohol, the GABA receptor is why. Now, phenibut, GABA A receptor, GABA B receptor, excuse me, but it also agonizes the GABA A receptor. I don't want to lose you guys with all the science, but basically, it's a pro-social nootropic, pro high vibes nootropic, let's say. It does have some addictive properties, and people have had some real problems with that. So, if you're interested in trying phenibut, I would keep it to start off low at, let's say, 250 milligrams, 300 milligrams, and it takes about an hour or so to kick in. You can go all the way up to a gram in my experience. Again, I would start low and slow as possible. And basically, has a pro-social effect, and it will kind of let you know if there's an issue with your GABA system to some degree like that. Let's see what else. And make sure with GABA, like I said, it has with phenibut, it has a very addictive property. So this is sort of I want to say a last resort, but it's to be used lightly. So I'd say every 2 to 3 days or so to avoid building up a tolerance, and then the inevitable withdrawals is where people have the most trouble with phenibut. So again, it's a nootropic, used with discretion. I had some very good experiences with it, and it can cause some feelings of mild euphoria, very pro-social behavior, very pleasant moods. So again, this is not medical advice. So just like I said, low and slow. So those are supplements, right? So we covered, let's see. So we had vitamin D, of course, very important, vital pseudo hormone in the body. Make sure you're getting that. Lack of vitamin D has been associated with depression and anxiety. So make sure you're getting your vitamin D. Make sure you get outside periodically. If you're super pale like me, watch it with the sun. Take the vitamin D. As a supplement, magnesium glycinate, readily available form of magnesium that did well with people over a 6-week trial period. GABA, um, the supplementary form of the neurotransmitter, has a relaxing effect, helps to quell some of that excitatory activity in the brain, and it's very sedative like. So if anyone's ever tried 5-HTP, which is another supplement I might recommend, 5-HTP is a precursor of serotonin. So you can actually feel the difference when you take 5-HTP versus GABA in the quality of the feeling that you get from elevated levels of those neurotransmitters. So 5-HTP, you feel very content, very relaxed because it's a precursor for serotonin, and GABA, like I said, it has kind of a mild sedative effect in contrast to the 5-HTP. So do with that what you will. L-theanine, again, amino acid, relaxing properties found in green tea. Chamomile, go ahead and drink that tea, make it organic. And then we have phenibut as sort of a last resort, again, only for acute use cases only. So then on from there, that's our third strategy. And finally, we have our fourth strategy, which is, you might have guessed it, psychiatry. So if you find that diet, sleep, restoring your vitamins and minerals isn't working, you've done a thorough investigation that includes blood work, and you've optimized everything you can, we could take a look at psychiatry. In my case, actually, I went the psychiatry route for anxiety and a couple of other things. Well, mostly anxiety. But I went the other route. All my blood levels of hormones and micronutrients were looking good. And then I had to turn to psychiatry. So I do have experience here. Like I've said before, there's no shame in the psychiatry game. It can be a very powerful tool for mental health and also for biohacking. So, what classes of psychiatry meds are typically prescribed? The premise of most psychiatry meds is that they tend to block. Let's open this up a little bit here. They tend to block or enhance the activity of certain neurochemicals called neurotransmitters, and I referenced that before. So, like GABA, serotonin, dopamine, norepinephrine, etc. There are many theories for depression and anxiety, but the strongest and most well-known one is actually the monoaminergic hypothesis. Basically, what that means is serotonin. Serotonin's a monoamine. I believe dopamine is as well. Norepinephrine. And, there's this monoaminergic hypothesis. So basically, the theory is that there are altered levels of these certain chemicals that are either too high or too low, and it's causing an imbalance, typically too low. So serotonin is a molecule of contentment and relaxation. Norepinephrine, another neurotransmitter that psychiatrists will often manipulate to get depression and anxiety relief. It's a nervous system stimulant. So norepinephrine is the thing that can lead to flight or fight response at high enough levels, and along with its partner, epinephrine, excuse me. And of course, dopamine is the reward molecule, the molecule of reward. So anytime you do something you find to be pleasurable, anytime you achieve a goal, anytime you eat some delicious food, chocolate, you name it, you're getting a dopamine hit. So, and just for visual display here, I want to just show you guys, since we're on the subject of psychiatry, there's a degree of neurobiology involved, and I don't want to lose you with this, but I just wanted to show you all, because I know everybody's heard about SSRIs and psychotropic medicines, but not everybody understands exactly how they work. So as long as I don't zoom in too far here. So basically, where serotonin and dopamine, all this stuff comes into play is, you can see up here on the left-hand side, you can see two neurons, which are brain cells, communicating with one another. And you see how there's kind of like this tree-like outgrowth from the one at the top, and it's touching the one on the bottom. So the top part, the outgrowth, is called an axon. And the other side is touching of the other neuron is called a dendrite. So basically, if you look over on the right-hand side, you'll actually see where neurotransmitters are stored in these little sacs called vesicles. And then when certain signals come through the neuron, uh, the neurotransmitters are released and they bind to the receptors at the bottom part. So just think of it like you're leaving the neurotransmitter is leaving the house and it's going to go park in the parking lot or the movies or the mall or whatever it is. So when we talk about SSRIs, NDRIs, etc., we're talking about like modulating the levels of when things are parking in those spaces, increasing the number of cars due to a decreased number of spots, or there's not enough cars for all the spots, etc. So I just wanted to kind of briefly explain that. So from there, for actual treatments, everybody's heard about SSRIs for good and for bad. But the primary way of treating anxiety is typically inhibiting the reuptake of these neurotransmitters uh, that little space between those two neurons. So basically, it prevents it from going back up into the top one here. It leaves it floating in the space in the middle where it can potentially park in those spots for longer. Let's say. So just let me know if this is too much science talk for you guys, but I know most of you, my followers, are highly intelligent individuals and shouldn't have much of a problem keeping up with this. So, yeah, so SSRIs, for example, uh, can have a real and powerful effect on anxiety, particularly if you actually have defective pathways or parking spots receptors for serotonin, right? So, receptors are those parking spaces. And I take an SSRI and I tested my theory prior to getting into that, actually, that I was serotonin deficient by taking something called 5-HTP, which is an amino acid and a precursor that converts to serotonin. So I took 5-HTP and I felt a ton better, but the effect only lasted for a few hours at the most. So I theorized, well, I must have a problem with my serotonin system. From there, I decided to go on and try an SSRI to see if it would fix my anxiety, and it did. So other similar drugs to SSRIs are SNRIs, or serotonin norepinephrine reuptake inhibitors, which increase both serotonin and norepinephrine at that junction here, just between the neurons. So there's also NDRIs, which target norepinephrine and dopamine. So obviously, there's lots of different systems to manipulate, right? There's different possibilities in terms of what might be causing the imbalance. So even within the monoamine hypothesis, there's many potential combinations of deficiencies, or it could just be one. And that's just one theory as well, right? So other possible issues, it could be poor gut health, leaky gut, leaky blood-brain barrier, vitamin or nutrient deficiencies, environmental or emotional disturbances, amongst others, right? So this is the reason why they have such a hard time nailing down all the causes of depression and anxiety, because there are so many of them. I don't think that's something that's talked about a lot. I don't think it's something that's understood. But the body is obviously a series of complex systems, so it stands to reason that if you have a problem over here with this system, it's going to lead to cascading problems over here. So let's say the gut. There's a well-known and currently investigated connection between the gut and the brain called the gut-brain axis. Actually, 90% of serotonin is produced in the gut, so it makes a decent amount of sense that if you've got gut issues, might impact your neurotransmitter or your neuromodulator balance. And these neurotransmitters, neuromodulators, they perform other functions outside of the brain as well. So something to keep in mind. If you want to go the testing route that I did on this, and you're thinking, hey, I might have a chemical imbalance, but I'm not really sure, and I'm a little wary of going to a psychiatrist right away, you can do what I did and try increasing your levels of certain amino acid precursors for those transmitters. So, for example, for dopamine and norepinephrine, you can try taking L-tyrosine, an amino acid, or L-phenylalanine, also an amino acid, at 100 to 300 milligrams as a test. See what kind of experience you have there. If you're feeling like low energy, lethargic, unmotivated, those two might be good ones to try. If you're, let's say, more on the anxious side, ill at ease, constantly worrying, and negative affect, try taking some 5-HTP, let's say 100 to 500 milligrams. And sorry, 100 to 300 milligrams. Try and keep it in that range. You might be able to go up to 500 milligrams as well. So what happened for me was I took the 5-HTP, and it was like I want to say like a light turned on, but it was more like um, it's like it's like a it's hard to describe honestly. Like it's like I had a greenhouse with no light coming through. Like it's like it was all blacked out or something. The windows were blacked out. It was like removing that blackout spray or whatever from the windows of this greenhouse. So all of a sudden, everything feels much better. I felt so much better from an emotional standpoint. I felt even keeled, which at that particular time in my life I was not. So um, you can try and test these different, let's say, amino acid precursors out for these neurotransmitters and see what you get. Now, important to note, L-tyrosine and L-phenylalanine both convert to dopamine. Dopamine then converts to norepinephrine. So, just in case you were curious why I'm recommending the same ones for those two different transmitters, that's why. So, if you see a boost in your mood after taking one of those, whether that's tyrosine, phenylalanine, 5-HTP, you might have a deficiency in the related transmitter pathway. And just as a note, don't take any of these if you're taking monoamine oxidase inhibitors. If you're not sure if you're taking one, just ask your doctor or psychiatrist. So the reason for that is the monoamine inhibitors, they basically break down those neurotransmitters and that space between the neurons. So if they stop breaking those down, you might get too much of a neurotransmitter, and it could cause all kinds of problems. So, all of that said, how do you penetrate the morass of information I just threw at you guys? So, simply put, you can find a qualified professional either in your area or online, do remote sessions. I found remote to be very helpful, and they'll work with you and find out what they believe might be the best starting treatment. So, do note that first drug, whatever they prescribe, tends to work in about 66% 67% of cases. So, if it doesn't work, they may augment your medication with another complementary one, or even switch drug classes entirely. So, if they're suspecting that the medication might be there's a possibility it might be working too slowly for you. It might need some extra gas with an augmenting agent. Like, let's say if you're taking an SSRI, for example, they might augment with bupropion, or they may switch to another SNRI on its own, like duloxetine or venlafaxine. So they all do different things, with those neurotransmitters. They have different half-lives, so they last different lengths. And while they accomplish the same result, they may get there in a slightly different way. So, and different side effects too. So there's no one size all fits solution. It may take some work, or you may find the right treatment right away. Just keep in mind, in a number of cases, patients don't always respond to patients don't always end up responding to any of the medications, which to me would likely indicate that the problem is derived elsewhere in another system in the body, or maybe caused by an environmental or emotional source. So sometimes folks have anxiety because they just live in a very stressful environment 24/7. They don't enjoy their work, or they have a very stressful relationship that's causing them a great deal of harm. All of these different types of things, right? So there's like a psycho, social, environmental, different causes for anxiety. So I just wanted to bring to you guys those 4 strategies for getting started on flipping the switch back in the other direction for you in terms of handling your anxiety. Obviously, as a busy professional, it's difficult to want to make time for your mental health because you are so busy being locked in, trying to grow your business and increasing that top line, pushing your employees, pushing your partners, handling your clients' concerns, etc., hopping on calls, you name it. So, but the upside is absolutely tremendous. As you guys know, on this channel, on this page, I'm all about performance and getting the most out of every day, increasing the longevity, and increasing the quality of your day as well. So, a big part of that is handling your anxiety if you have it. Don't just sit around and ignore it, because there is better quality of life waiting for you on the other side of that anxiety. So um, that's basically it. So just to recap: diet, exercise, sleep. Optimize those three things. You can look at blood work, make sure your micronutrients and your minerals are all in check, your hormones, etc. From there, you can try different supplements to see if you can get some relief. You can try experimenting with those amino acid precursors for different neurotransmitters, which can let you know if there's a potential problem with a specific system of the brain, provided that um, you know provided that you don't overdo it. And then you can move on to, if you need at that point, psychiatric assistance. They have all these different classes of drugs available. I encourage you guys to look at it in terms of like a biohacking opportunity and a learning opportunity instead of something that's taboo. Because honestly, these drugs really do amazing things for people that have been struggling with anxiety for a very long time. I was one of them, so I can speak from experience. Um, like I said, there's no shame in the psychiatry game. And then once you've gotten to that point, even if you don't have massive anxiety, you can start using the medical system and your relationship with your psychiatrist for biohacking purposes, right? So you can start fine tuning your neurotransmitter systems, peaking your neurotransmitters at certain points during your day when it's most productive. So you can take a look at dopamine, spiking your dopamine at specific times during the day, your norepinephrine, etc. And then, at the end of the day, you can use some of those supplements I mentioned to take the edge off. Melatonin is a big one for me, great antioxidant. And so, anyway, I guess what the point is not to see this as something that's threatening or taboo or anything. So, I'm wishing the best of luck to you guys with your anxiety if you have it. And I appreciate you tuning in and joining me here. It's going to be lots more value coming your way. And you guys know I'm committed and we are all in it to win it. I'm here to help. I do coaching as well, performance and biohacking coaching for entrepreneurs. We look at, we do intake. I look at your blood work. We do a full let's say psychiatric. We could do a full cognitive and psychiatric profile to see where you're trying to go in the next 30, 60, 90 days. And from there, we can look at your blood work, your sleep parameters. We get you hooked up with, an Apple Watch or a Fitbit or Google Health. We look at your data and we check in weekly, and we have calls monthly as well. And you guys can text me at any time. So, anyway, so I hope that helps, and I appreciate you guys stopping by. And I will see you on the next stream. Appreciate you guys, and we'll talk soon. All right, peace out.